Harmon.
Hey, everybody. Oh, it's good to be here, man. This is emotional. It's been 2 years since I've been here at the Punchline. This feels great. Feels so great. And also, I walked around today and didn't freeze my nuts off. That is also great. It's good to be here. But yeah, I lived here. It's great to be here. It's great to be back in San Francisco. I just got in earlier today, and I lived here for 14 years, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I had this great ritual I would do on the first of every month. I would do this thing where I would stand in the middle of my apartment and touch every wall as I wrote the check for $3,300. Like, oh, this is such a great bargain. Oh, man. I love it. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Now I'm there. Oh, so convenient. I loved it. But like, you don't need a lot of space. We had 550 square feet when I lived here, and you don't need a lot of space when you live in a city like San Francisco. You just need a small spot to put your air mattress, your leather booty shorts, and your unicycle, and you're just out. Right? Just having fun. Just letting the world know who you are. But then the pandemic hit, and my wife and I are both inside 550 square feet, working together side by side, trying to do our jobs, and it got rough. We heard each other's meeting voices. Have you heard that? Your spouse's meeting voice? No. At first I thought, oh, this is gonna be amazing, sex on tap. And then I heard my wife say in a meeting, without irony whatsoever, well, at least it's Thursday. No. No. Sex cut off. So we thought maybe we should try and buy a place. Let's see what we can do. We've been saving up for 10 years. We both have decent jobs. Let's go to a bank here in California and see if maybe we can buy a place to have more space. Yes. We take all of our paperwork, all of our information to a mortgage agent here in San Francisco. We sit down with that person, and I said, so, can we buy a house in California? And she looked me in my eyes and said, no, not a chance. You're kind of lucky you're out of the sun right now, frankly. And that didn't feel good at all. So I felt terrible. I'm like, fuck, we're just gonna be renting forever. So my wife grew up around Detroit. So she's like, let's just fly there. Let's just go check it out, see what the deal is. And I don't think it's gonna work because we've already been told no. We fly to Detroit, all the same paperwork, sit down with a mortgage agent there. And I said, so, can we buy a house in Detroit? She doesn't even look at the paperwork. She's like, yeah, it's fucking Detroit. Are you crazy? I see you have shopped at Whole Foods recently. Yeah, we can find you a house. Like, you insane? Do you want to live where a Detroit Piston has lived, dude? Like, so now we're approved. Now we can go look for a house. I've never done that before. I have no idea what to look for in a house. I've been used to renting. Like, you go and you meet with like a landlord. And they're like, well, the toilet is in the kitchen. Deposit's $8,000. Take it or leave it. And all of a sudden, we're meeting with a real human being asking me adult questions about what I want in my life. She said, what is a top perk that you would like in your home? I couldn't think of anything. Nothing. The first thing that popped up in my head was just to go, so is it possible for me to take a shit and for her to not know about it for a little while? Now I have 14 bathrooms. It's amazing. It's amazing. I think it's where Bill Lambier used to live. I love it so much. I got a humidor for some reason. It's fantastic. Go to Detroit. It's great. Although it's cold as fuck right now, don't go right now. Wait like 3 months. But I love it. It's fun. I've been flying again a little bit. I flew here today, which it should be fun. But I went right back to flying Spirit Airlines. Right back. Right back. I do appreciate that Spirit had almost 2 years to make some sort of improvements, and they went, no. Don't change a thing. We're good. If anything, they locked the doors immediately to try to hold in the old Panera Bread farce. Like, just keep them in. Let it smell the same way it used to. But I've been flying. I flew Spirit a bunch before the pandemic, and then I just went right back to it. I fly it too much, and I know I fly it too much because I read a story recently about someone who they were taking Spirit to go visit some family. They're up in the air, 35,000 feet, and someone on the plane has a heart attack, passes away. But Spirit Airlines, they don't stop the plane. They don't land. They just take a blanket and throw it over the body. finish the fucking flight. Just go all the way to wherever they're going. But my first reaction when I read that story was just to go, wait, Spirit has blankets now? What? You gotta die to get them. You gotta die to get a blanket on Spirit Airline. I also love that at no point in the story did anybody on the plane bother to ask, hey, is there a doctor aboard? It was a Spirit Airline flight. They knew the answer to that question so easily. Hey, is there a doctor aboard? No hands. Hey, are there any alcoholic DJs on board? All the hands. Just go up immediately. I gained weight in COVID. Anyone gain weight? Just be brave. Did you gain weight during COVID? Yeah. Good for you. That's what was supposed to fucking happen. That's. In fact, I know some people who got more in shape. That's serial killer shit. No. No. If you know someone who came out of COVID with abs, they got a crawl space with some weird shit in it. Don't trust them. But when COVID hit, I've been on keto for like 3 months. I was down like 30 pounds. And I thought I was gonna keep going. I thought I was. In the first couple of weeks, I did. I'm sitting at home, just eating salami, chicken breasts, hard-boiled eggs, just trying to keep it going. And then like all around the same time, we all realized, oh shit, this is going on for a long time. So we all run to the stores. And so we're at the stores and I'm grabbing like chicken breasts and salami and eggs to do hard-boiled eggs. But my wife, my genius wife says, hey, we don't know if these are gonna close. We should buy stuff that's gonna last a while, like boxes of macaroni and cheese and cans of ravioli and Oreo cookies. And I'm like, that's a good idea, honey. You're a genius. Let's do that. So we've got our carts full of stuff. We're driving home. And then my wife says, hey, we don't know if the dispensaries are going to close. We should stop and stock up on that. And I said, yes, man, honey, that's a good idea. Let's go. We went, we stood in line. It was a long line. We get to the counter and the guy's like, what would you like? And I said, I would like to know what the legal limit is you can sell me right now because that's how much I'm going to buy. It might be currency in the new age. I don't know. So I buy a ton of weed. We go home. We're unpacking the groceries. We're unpacking the weed. My wife says, I'm going to roll a joint just to make sure this is okay. I said, seems like a good idea. Let's unwind a little bit. This is a stressful time. And then we smoked a joint, and I was about to hard boil some eggs. And then I suddenly remembered, oh, hey, didn't we just buy boxes of macaroni and cheese and cans of ravioli and a bunch of Oreo cookies? Later that night, I bought an air fryer, and it was game fucking on. Oh. The best part of that first bit of COVID, I have tried every pizza roll known to man, every kind. Costco brand, not so good. Walgreens brand, shockingly good. Shockingly good. Stop at a Walgreens. It's so good. But I'm working on losing some of the weight that I put on again. But I've been struggling with my weight for so long. It's just like been back and forth. I think a lot of people struggle with their weight. I struggle with it, and you know you struggle with your weight when you start to change your behavior so you are not the fat person doing the fat person thing in public. Right? Like, for example, I have not gone ice skating for years and years. Not because I don't like it, I love it. I don't want to be the fat person who falls down and someone records it on their phone. And all of a sudden I'm on TikTok just like, let the bodies hit the floor. No. Fuck that shit. No. Standing on the side with my hot cocoa like a grown-up fat person. That's what I'm doing. The other thing I won't do is I will not complain in a restaurant, ever, because I don't want to be the fat guy complaining about his food. No matter what the problem is, I think everyone's just going to hear, oh, listen, the fatso over here complaining about his food again. Like a couple months back, I was at a sports bar with some friends where we all order chicken wings, and the waiter says you can have 2 dipping sauces with that, and I picked barbecue sauce and ranch. And the guy comes back, brings my wings with only barbecue sauce, and punchline, I didn't say shit. Tucked in, enjoyed my wings, num num num, no ranch for me. My skinny friend next to me, he got his ranch. He's like, dude, you didn't get your ranch dressing, you should complain that you didn't get ranch. And I said, no, complaining about no ranch would be the fattest complaint. The fattest possible complaint I could make in this restaurant right now. No matter how eloquently it comes out of my mouth, everyone in this restaurant is just going to hear, I was promised ranch and I never got my ranch. Bring me a manager with a bucket of ranch to rectify this dipping situation immediately. So my skinny friend, he says, okay, I get it. I get why you don't want to complain in person. Tell you what you should do, though. You wait until you get home, get on your computer, and write a bad review on Yelp about how you did not get ranch dressing. And I said, congratulations, dude. Congratulations. You just somehow found a fatter complaint. You did it. Right? That is somehow so much fatter to wait until you get home and fire off a Yelp review about no ranch dressing. Like you just fire up your browser, make the headline like stingy with the ranch, and just start typing away. No. You could be Ernest Hemingway writing that review and everyone's gonna hear it in the voice of, I was promised ranch and I never got my ranch. And I was so angry I waited until I got home to put on my CPAP machine so I had enough oxygen to recommend. I will say, one of the perks of moving back to the Midwest, though, is the relationship people there have with ranch dressing. I love it. I love it so much because here in California, you are more likely to hear the table next to you bragging about the crazy sex and drugs they had the last weekend rather than how much they would like some ranch dressing. Like you are not gonna, you're gonna hear like, oh yeah, I did some coke, then I got on Grindr and did a three-way. Could I have a little tub of ranches, a little bit of ranches? A little bit of ranch. Whereas in the Midwest, it is not a matter of do you want ranch? It is a matter of how much ranch would you like? Of course you want ranch. Of course you want ranch. Burger and fries? Yes, tub of ranch. Like fish and chips? 2 tubs of ranch, of course. Soup? I will bring the ranchos. Of course you want all of the ranch. I live closer to family now, which has its pluses and minuses. One of the things that I have discovered is now, because I'm closer to all my older relatives, I am now tech support for the whole family. Right? The whole family is suddenly all of the stuff they have not updated or bothered to deal with in years and years. Like, well, you work in tech during the day, here you go. My father was the first one. My father came at me with his iPad, which I think was the iPad Steve Jobs used to introduce the iPad. Like, he's like, this doesn't work. Make it work for me. So I open it up, and sure enough, he hasn't updated anything. It's all screwed up, and everything's logged out. So I started asking him questions, reasonable questions. I said, Dad, what is your Facebook password? I don't know. Dad, what is your email password? I don't know. Dad, what is your Apple ID password? I don't know. Dad, well, I'm looking here at your iPad, and it turns out you don't need a fucking iPad. You're good. You are all set. Here is a parchment and a quill and some doves. Tell it with whom you would like to communicate and set them forthwith. They shall return in a fortnight. Like what? What the fuck? And the other one was my grandmother. My grandmother came to me at a family gathering with her phone and said, I want Twitter, get me Twitter. My grandmother's an 88-year-old woman. She has an iPhone for some reason. I'm kind of angry at the guy at Verizon who talked her into it. Like, why? Why do you have this? She has 3 apps, and one of them is Solitaire, and that's the only one she uses. But she wants Twitter. She's like, give me Twitter, I want Twitter. I'm like, Grandma, Twitter's not for you. You don't need Twitter. She's like, well, they talk about it all the time on the Fox. I want to see Twitter. I'm like, okay, fine. So I sign her up. So I'm signing up my grandmother, my 88-year-old grandmother, for Twitter. I've got her all figured out. And then she needs a username. And I say, I don't want to make you your real name. You need a username. What would you like your username to be? And my grandmother says, I don't know. Make it something that people are going to like. As far as I'm concerned, she's never gonna open this again, so I'm like, I'm gonna have some fun. So I made my sweet 88-year-old Fox News loving grandmother on Twitter. She is at horny420granny. That is who she is. Who she is on Twitter. I found a great picture on Google of an old lady doing a big bong rip. I made that her profile picture. Her other big picture is a giant pot leaf. I followed Fox News, CNN, a couple other things, and I'm like, here you go, Grandma. But the thing I did before I handed it back, was there's two options on Twitter. If you don't know, there's two options for what you can do with your DMs. You can either have it open or closed, meaning that anyone can message you or only certain people can message you. I decided Grandma wants Twitter, let's turn on the fire hose. At horny420granny is open. Open for business. So I hand it back to my grandmother, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the last we're gonna talk about it. I chuckled to myself on the drive home later and like, this will never come up again. 2 weeks later, another family thing, and there is my grandmother. She's not waiting inside. She sees me pull into the driveway and comes outside with her phone. Just kind of waving it at me like, is this Twitter? Is this Twitter? So I take a look at my grandmother's Twitter, and some stuff happened. Some stuff happened. First one was, Grandma got followed by about 1,100 people. To my credit, she asked for something that people are gonna like. People like horny420granny. They're into it. Success. The other thing that happened is that Grandma got some DMs. Oh boy. Grandma got some DMs, the special kind of DMs that only come from random dudes on the internet who saw a profile at horny420granny that is about a week old and decided, hey, let's just shoot this out there. So Granny's inbox is a combination of either dudes with pictures of them doing bong rips or their dicks, or some combination of the two. There's bong rip, there's a dick, there's a bong rip, there's a dick, there's a dude putting his dick into a bong for some reason. And then one guy sent her a real message. He said, hey, I don't believe you're that horny. DM me your address and I'll come over and fuck you till you're young again. And so I'm looking at this and I said, hey, Grandma, so it turns out I just remembered, there's two ways your DMs can go. They can either be open or closed. I could close this so then these guys can't message you anymore. You aren't going to get at people asking you for sex or just pictures of guys' dicks. I can turn that off if you want. And my grandma looked at her phone and looked up kind of thoughtfully, looked back, looked up again, and as she stared off through the window, she said, no, leave it on. So last check, at horny420granny still open for business. You want to have some fun, there she is. It is interesting being back. I grew up in the Midwest and then moved here for 14 years and then moved back. What I've realized in moving back, the adjustment has not been that hard. People are still pretty cool over there. The thing that's been hard is now I can't tell when somebody is joking about politics. And I'll tell you what I mean. Like here in San Francisco, I'm a white dude, lived in San Francisco for 14 years. I got a Filipino wife. You can tell which side of the fence I'm leaning on. But I'd be hanging out with friends, and then someone, just to be sarcastic, would say something super crazy right-wing, and we would all laugh. Ha 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 ha. How can anyone believe that's true? Oh my God. Satire, ridiculous. Now I am in Michigan. I'm hanging out with a group of people, and you don't know, like I know I have people in my circle who lean conservative, but nobody's like Yosemite Sam in a QAnon t-shirt. Just like, pew, 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 Antifa did January 6th, pew, pew, pew. So you don't think anyone is crazy. You don't think anyone's all fucked up. So I'll be hanging out with a group of people, and then someone will say something crazy, insane, and right-wing, And then I will do what I always used to do, which is to laugh. Ah, ha, ha, Hunter Biden's laptop, that's insane. And then I open my eyes and realize everyone's staring at me like I'm the crazy person. Like, oh shit, you all believe that. Well, good luck with that Fox News and Tucker Carlson. See you later. But it doesn't always end poorly. It doesn't always end poorly. Like I was at a family gathering. We're out at a campground in the summertime. There's beers being drank. There's Leonard Skinner being played on a radio. It's all good times. And there's this guy I've known since I was like 10 years old. He's drinking a beer, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he just thinks it's gonna be a funny joke. He says, well, I'm just glad no one's trying to teach me about their pronouns right now. And now here's a couple of things about this dude. I have known this dude since I was 10 years old. Super good guy, would help anybody in his community. Also, the other thing you gotta know about this guy, he prefers to go by the name Skeeter. Skeeter. Skeeter, he goes by the name Skeeter. So everyone's like not sure what to say. I hear this and I'm like, dude, I love you. You're a great guy, but I gotta tell you, like, we all know you were born Jerry. We all know you were born Jerry. But at some point in your life, you decided, I don't identify as Jerry. I identify as Skeeter. And because we all love and respect you, I don't care about any of that other stuff. I want to call you Skeeter because you're my friend and I respect your humanity. And Skeeter just takes a sip of his beer and he's like, huh, okay. It's done, and I think, okay, at least he won't say that dumb shit anymore. A few weeks later, I'm on Facebook. My mother's friend posts some insane thing about how some kid at the school wants to go by they, them. And she's got this whole rant about how it's against Jesus and blah, 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 blah. And there's all these other comments from other people that I kind of know, like saying the same kind of shit. I'm like, oh, fuck. Why did I even come from this town? This sucks. And then out of nowhere, comes Skeeter. And he goes by Skeeter on Facebook too. He goes by Skeeter. Skeeter writes a comment. Skeeter writes a comment on there and he says, well, I don't think it's that hard to just call someone what they want to be called. It's just respecting. It's just respecting someone's basic humanity, and I'm happy to do it. And folks, I don't know what the fuck is going to happen in the next few years, and everything's kind of crazy. I also did not think that my faith in humanity in 2022 was going to be restored by a dude named fucking Skeeter. I had no idea. So I went to his page to write him a message. I was going to say, hey, dude, thanks. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. But then I saw that his main picture was a Yosemite Sam and a QAnon t-shirt. So who the fuck knows? Thank you. Thank you guys so much. Well, I probably should have ended with that, but let's talk about boners for a couple minutes. Yeah, let's do it. I went to a doctor appointment recently, and I was getting a checkup, just getting a little checkup, making sure everything's good. And at the end of the appointment, the doctor asked me, he says, hey, how are your erections? But he did not give me a scale with which to rate the erections. And that feels wrong to me, right? That feels wrong. If you're gonna ask a guy that question, give me a scale. Like frowny face to happy face. Or 1 to 10. Or 1 to 6, if I'm being honest. Like, give me a scale. But he doesn't say anything, so I had to come up with my own. So my way of describing it to him was, well, you know how in the 60s, the band was called Jefferson Airplane? And they were cool, and they sold a bunch of records, and everyone thought they were really great. And then in the late 70s and early 80s, they became Jefferson Starship. And they weren't quite as good, they were kind of lame, but they still had a couple of hits here and there. My erections now are like Jefferson Starship. Not as good as it used to be. Everyone acknowledges it. But on the right night, it's gonna kill at a county fair. Just so hard. I am a married guy. My wife is here with me. She's in the back. She's come back. So we've been together. We're celebrating our 15th wedding anniversary this year, which is, thank you. 15 years of marriage, and I love hanging out with younger comedy people because we'll talk about like what it's like to date now versus what it was like to date then, and they're always shocked at the differences. Like the big one for my wife and I is I have never sent my wife never a picture of my dick, never. Yeah, and well, and I feel like don't give me too much credit because here's the thing, like. If I wanted to send one, the best time to send that is back early in the relationship. But, but back then, like, now people send them, it's like just the first couple of texts. If I wanted to send my wife a picture of my dick early in our correspondence, I would have had to have gotten a Walgreens employee involved in that, right? Like, walk into a business with a canister of film and slide it across the counter. Look a human being in the eyes. Like, I don't know what you're about to see, but we're connected forever, dude. Like, here you go. Folks, that is my time. Enjoy Ron. Thank you guys for coming out.